In 1968, Charles Schulz, creator of the Peanuts comic strip, introduced a new character named Franklin. The first black member of the beloved Peanuts gang has been around ever since, but we've never known much about him until now. The new special, Welcome Home Franklin, on Apple TV Plus, finally puts Franklin in the spotlight. We're happy to have Raymond Percy and Craig Schulz here to share more. Thank you to both of you for joining us. So, why was now the time to focus on Franklin?
Well, the main reason I think is because the fans really love Franklin. You know, I work out here in Santa Rosa. We get a lot of mail and so forth. And Franklin is one of the most beloved characters in the Peanuts universe. So we figured he was due his time. This is part of a Snoopy Presents series. I think it's the 7th episode in the series that we've done. And we always wanted to, show the fans kind of what Franklin's backstory was. So that's why we travel back from his it's almost like an origin story. We see him leave the inner city, jump on the highway down Route 66 and arrive in this strange town that he's somehow got to fit in. He's got a kid sitting in the pumpkin patch. He's got a girl behind a psychiatric booth and a crazy dog. And he doesn't quite know how this is going to work compared to the places he's been before. But his grandfather has given him this little cheat sheet book. And with the cheat sheet book, he tries to use that as a way to finesse his way into this neighborhood.
And there are some throwbacks to the comics and Peanuts specials about the first meeting with Charlie Brown and the Thanksgiving table, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was kind of where we started when we were writing the show. We started with the scene at the beach where Sally's beach ball rolls up and Franklin and Charlie Brown meet for the first time and build a sandcastle together. And from there, we decided, let's go backwards and find out how Franklin actually got to the beach. And that's where the story started.
Now, race is never mentioned specifically, but it is alluded to. Franklin mentions a lack of variety, but that's it. How did you go about dealing with this issue without forcing it on people?
Well, I think exactly like you said. He rolls in the neighborhood and he sees them all eating vanilla ice cream cones, and he says there wasn't a lot of variety in this neighborhood. That was probably the most gentle way we could introduce, a black character into the comic strip. But even through those past, 6 or 7 specials we did, we definitely introduced a lot of diversity into the shows. If you look in the background, you'll see Jose Peterson and some of the other cast and a lot of black characters in the neighborhood. But, typically we stay within the core cast, and that's why you don't see a lot of diversity within the core cast. But there really is within Charlie Brown's world.
Craig, what are your thoughts on keeping Dad's legacy alive and new generations of fans loving the Peanuts characters?
Well, it seems like it's a circle. What happens is, kids grow up on Peanuts, they love it to a certain point, then they get to a certain age and they kind of go off and do something else. But then when they turn 35 or 40, they have their own kids, and then they reintroduce the characters. So, our hope within these shows are that it drives people to actually go back and read the books, because that's where all the lessons are learned, is in the comic strip. And we just took the comic strip my dad created, and Raymond and his team put it into motion and tried to convey the same sort of thoughts that he did. We write the shows for adults, but kids can really enjoy them the exact same way the comic strip was written.
Absolutely. And Raymond, what was it like for you dealing with such iconic characters?
It's great. It's like when I first started telling people I was going to be working on these specials, the second you mention Peanuts, people's faces melt and they smile. And it really kind of, at first it was scary. It's like, well, then I've got a lot, I've got a lot to live up to. But these characters are just so clear as to who they are that when we work on these things, it's kind of easy to know what they would do in any situation. And so it's been a lot of fun working on these.
And you have experience with animation, directing The Simpsons and Wreck-It Ralph. Did you have a different approach this time, or was the process the same?
I think in every case, the characters tell you what the story is going to be. So even though something like The Simpsons seems very different from Peanuts, at its core, it's about the characters. And so as long as you stick to who the characters are, I think it's going to feel authentic.
So many Peanuts fans out there will enjoy this for sure. Thanks again to both of you for spending some time with me.
Great talking to you.
Have a good day.